This is the Intermission Podcast.
We want to get to know our homeboys and homegirls and invite you into our space.
It's a whole mood of positivity.
The Intermission Podcast. Welcome back to the Intermission Podcast, a break with your homegirls.
These are the quarantine combos.
That's correct. And now we're going to do roll call. I'm Jessica E. Williams.
I'm Jessie Denise.
And I'm Ivana.
Y'all, it's been quite the week. Quite the week. Rona is here in full effect. And we are continuing to pray for the families of the folks that are infected and people who have passed from the virus. But this week we're going to have a conversation, okay? And it's one that's long overdue. We are Christian women of the household of faith. We love the Lord. Amen. However, this week's topic is don't let your faith get you killed.
Huh?
Come on, somebody. Listen, because there's a lot of y'all who you just won't make the adjustments into the new world. You won't make the adjustments because of Corona. And yes, we know Jesus is Lord of all. Yes, we plead the blood of Jesus, but there just sometimes you should just use, what's the magic word, ladies, we want to talk about?
Wisdom.
Capital dub. I mean, Solomon wrote an entire book about it, okay? Proverbs. So how everybody feels like they just don't have to abide by that no more because the Rona's out, I don't understand. So anyway, who wants to start off? Anybody?
I'm going to give an example really quick. Wisdom is so important. I think people just didn't think it was as big as it is, and they weren't taking those precautionary measures at the beginning. But I read in either LA Times or New York Times, not sure, but a church had a choir director, a choir leader of a big church sent off an email, told people we're still having a rehearsal, but you don't have to come, you could come, whatever. 60 of their members came, and out of the 60, 45 of them got infected, and some of them actually passed away. And so it blew my mind. And I was like, they were trying to have space, practice social distancing. And
how with 60 people? Whose stage is that big? I don't care what the biggest mega church is at. Yes, it's at.
Not for 60, fam.
English is going to have enough space for 60 people. Nobody.
That's what I'm saying. And I was like, yo, and it looked like they had like an older congregation of people. So I was like, not smart at all. And it's so sad now because, like, you know, some people have passed, and it's just like, yo.
And that's the thing with this virus, like, there's no rhyme or reason. So you can't even be like, okay, the young folks can come, okay, the old folks can come, okay. There's no rhyme or reason. People are in their 90s and are surviving, and people are 20 and dying. So that was just so unwise. And I trust my pastors. Like, that's why I go to my church, because I trust them. I trust their leadership. So anyone who goes to a church where they trust their leadership, and your leader says, I'm going to still, come, I'm going to have rehearsal, you're going to still go because you trust that they've heard from the Lord. Because that was my thing. If my pastors say we're still going to go to church, I'm not trusting them in their flesh. I trust their relationship with the Lord. So if the Lord told them, you guys can still have church, I got y'all covered, then I would trust that they would be like, I'd be like, oh, okay. I mean, I might not go because I'm, on the list. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing with having your own relationship with God. Because even if God said, you two can go, he might say, I can't go. Mm-hmm. It's not a thing of a blanketed, there's no like blanketed thing, like where it's like, oh, okay, well, everybody's going to be safe because of this. No, you have to use wisdom. You have to have your own relationship with God, because if you don't, then you end up on the 45 or in one of the whatever percentage that died and dead. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so true. And like, even to the point that you're making in terms of being able to trust your leadership, I mean, there are literally churches in certain states, not ours, thank God, or at least that we've heard of, but in certain states who are refusing to stop having service. Like, there were some churches in like Baton Rouge, Louisiana, like the pastor's like, I'm not finna shut down, and if you get the corona, I can heal you of it. Like they're literally refusing to stop having church. Some other church that I heard of in Ohio, I think it's called like Solid Rock Church. They ain't practicing no manner of social distancing. People are coming through the door hugging each other like normal. They're like, you know, I think it was either in the shade room or somewhere I saw, but they were like, you know, we're covered by the blood. As cameras are rolling by, ask them why they're continuing to go to church. And they're like, so you do know that the virus, you can have it and be asymptomatic. Like just trying to explain the science of what they're figuring out as, you know, the virus, the knowledge of what happens, is increasing.
Not the devil.
Exactly. And even with, you know, the choir example just that you brought up, that's when they figured out that, which is why we're all having to wear mask now, is that it's traveling not just when you cough or sneeze, but when you're doing something like singing and, you know, expelling stuff out of your mouth or out of your lungs. And if that's where the virus lives, people are going to catch it. And so churches have to be able to evolve and adapt, which I think is really cool in terms of what we're seeing of how we all spent worship today, okay, and this Palm Sunday, which was online. So have you guys been experiencing online service? Like, what has that been like for you guys?
It's fine for me because I have to. I'm a person who likes to be in the house. I'm a person who likes to be around the body of believers. I'm the person who likes to fellowship, and I love to worship with my, you know, with my congregation. But I noticed that when I have to, like if I'm sick and I have to watch church from home, I have the same experience as when I'm in the house. Now, if I'm being lazy and I watch church from home because I ain't feel like going to church, I realize I'd be like, dang, I wish I would have gone. You know what I'm saying? But it's the difference when like I have to watch from home. And like today, we were actually acting a fool in the comments today at church. But it was actually quite fun. You know what I mean? So it's like, and you know how we are at HH, like we're very close knit, and we have separation anxiety. Like even after church, we're saying bye for 10 hours just getting to the car, you know. But I find that I'm still having the same experience at home, and I've been laying in my bed. I ain't even been getting out the bed, which I probably should get out the bed. But I laid in the bed and then laid back down and took my church nap immediately. Like I was in the perfect position for a church nap. So but I noticed that I'm having the same experience and having the same connection with God, because the church, the four walls do not dictate my relationship with God, because between Monday and Saturday, what I do is what keeps my relationship. And I'm not in, well, maybe Wednesday, but I'm not in those four walls on a regular day. You know what I'm saying? So when you can have that same connection with the Lord at home by yourself in your own worship, even without any music playing, like just you and God. Like, what do you do when it's just you and God, when it's no one else around, when there's no worship leader priming and prodding you and making you worship and telling you to stand up and
put your hands together, lift your hands
together, let me hear for the Lord. Like, there's no one there to do that for you. Then what do you do? Like, this is a time for us to really check our relationship with God and to see how close we really are with him, and to know, like, okay, people might realize, dang, I only spend time with God on Sunday.
Real talk.
I'm not doing it Monday through Saturday, and that's when my weeks suck. You know? So it's just like, I feel like this time is a good time for us to get back to a place of worship and just relationship with him. So
to piggyback off a relationship, I agree with everything that you're saying. Like, I think that this is a great time that if we hadn't already done it, we are really being able to establish our relationship, you know? I can see this time maybe being a little harder for people who aren't deeply rooted with the Lord yet. And so those ones that may have just come to the Lord before all of this happened, they might be struggling. But at the same time, I say might because that's not my story. Because when I came, like, I was like over there, bah, 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 which I want, you know, like I was on it. Like all I wanted was the Lord. And truly, like, I actually got so much through just interaction like this. I was doing like Bible study through Skype calls. And so like, I was like, so it could be and it could not be, you know, like, but I definitely think that this is a time that people are going to really use non-traditional way of seeking him, which for God is just like, that's what I want. You know, I don't want you to always wait for a pastor to give it to you, but come seek me yourself, which is kind of funny because one of my bros had hit me up. We were like talking about something, and it was like last week on a Sunday. He was like, "Did you go to church today?" But he kind of like hoorah'd on me, like, "Did you watch church? Did you get out of your bed today?" And I said, and I felt a little bad, but not that bad, because I was just like, oh, no. And this is not why I felt bad. I felt bad because my follow-up was kind of like a punch in the gut.
Clap back.
Yeah, I was like, that ain't it, on accident. But it was just like, I was just like, hey, you know, like, which I truly believe sometimes, like, no matter what you're watching, no matter what sermon you're watching, what you're listening to, it's not it. It's just not resonating with you. So I'm actually been since Thailand, since I came back from Thailand, which was almost a year ago. It was last August. The best time that I have with the Lord is when I sit down and do Bible study with him. Like, the Lord has been showing me stuff, giving me revelation and stuff when I just sit with him and crack that Bible open. Nobody teaching me anything. Nobody sitting with me. Yes, you bounce that off of somebody. You ain't over here coming up with some spooky little things on your own, you know, and I'll still listen to pastors and stuff like that. But when the thing that I desire after most or whatever is, or when I'm getting closest, is when I'm actually just sitting with God with the Bible and just learning on my own, you know. And that's not to say I'm just cracking open some King James version and doing whatever, but I actually have like a study Bible that was written by a pastor and stuff. So, you know, like, it's very detailed and making sure that what is in my head is sound and stuff like that. So like Jess always says, Jess has so many phrases for the YouTube and stuff, but Bedside Baptist is my favorite. So we've been on Bedside Baptist for a minute, and so it's really not that different, but I do find worship to be I do desire to be in a house for worship, you know, because I used to go to Hope's house just for that. I go over here to any church just for the worship. And then the study part is when I'm with the Lord, like the bigger study part. So I do wish I could worship with everyone. But there has been a couple of people who, the way that they lead and their psalmists or whatnot, they've been going live, and I've found that those have been good. It's just not the same as corporate worship, though.
That's fair. Yeah, and I, to Jess's point, have been at Bedside Baptist for quite some time.
What's the other word besides Bedside?
Jesus is at your house?
Yeah. YouTube.
Is it YouTube? Or YouTube Baptist, Bedside Baptist, whatever you want to call it.
YouTube Baptist.
It's at your house. So, and I think, you know, even before, you know, this whole coronavirus thing hit, I was in a season of transitioning from being in my place of worship all the time to this sort of back and forth of like going to church sometimes and watching online, because which is interesting in this season. I'm more of an introvert. You guys know that because you're extroverts. So I think that for some people, there's a certain level of, like you guys are saying, social interaction at church that can be refreshing and life-giving, which I think, you know, the Bible really admonishes us to not forsake the assembling of the saints, right? There's certain things that happen in church or the Spirit drops and you want to be in the environment, in the atmosphere. Like the last Sunday I went to church right before Corona happened, like, God woke me up and was like, I need you to be in the house today. And I was like, all right, bet. And I went, super happy I went. Other times, I don't know, for whatever reason, being around a lot of people just don't do it for me. So I'll be like, let me be at the house and let me experience service, you know, that way. And I'm so happy that my church is one that is caught up on technological the necessary technological things, because I think what's been kind of cool is to see churches have to adjust to the fact that, like, okay, if we're not doing the assembling of the saints in a traditional way, what does that look like? And so do we need to increase our camera equipment? Do we need to make sure our sound is on point? Are we pre-recording our worship? Though I agree it's not always the same. But yes, and then going to get worship on your own, whether you're listening to it by yourself. Tori Kelly is one of my favorite psalmists, so I love doing worship with her on Sundays. Jonathan McReynolds has been everywhere. Kirk Franklin been on everybody's life, okay? Because that man is an extrovert for sure. So, going to those trusted sources of people that we know and love and trust. But it's been an adjustment for everybody. And I think, much to your point, Lon, it's been interesting that people have to sort of practice what they preach in a way. It's like, what is the condition of your heart in terms of your relationship with the Lord? Is it just based on your Sundays, especially during a time like Easter, which we're coming up on?
Man.
Which had 45 had his way. The miracle virus was going to disappear and all the churches were going to be packed next weekend. Literally.
Let me tell you who ain't going to be there.
Let me tell you who's not going to be there.
Jesus ain't gonna be able to stay home.
Jesus is not gonna be there. He'll be like,
y'all, the Rona
there.
Empty,
and so should the churches be. Okay, no.
Come on, Jesus is where you're at. Okay, so I think that a lot of people are used to getting, and this is an interesting point about church being. I've heard people say this, but never really understanding church being people's addiction in a way, and that
it's just a pattern. It's just a part of their. It's just because that's how I used to be. Like when I used to go to church back home, because I grew up in a very I grew up in an Episcopal church, so it's very much like Catholic. It's very calm, very whatever. I didn't really have a relationship with God. Like he was my dad, but he was my dad I was afraid of. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to make him angry. I didn't want to make him hate me or whatever. I don't even know. But it wasn't until I had my relationship with God when I moved to LA, and I was like, oh, he's my dad for real. Like, okay, this is different than what I've been accustomed to for 27 years of being. My home church is a church. My great grandma's name is on a pew. You know what I'm saying? Like those types of environments where it's just like, it's just part of the routine. Sunday you go to church, Monday you go to school, go through the week. Saturday you do your sports, you dance, whatever, you clean the house, and then Sunday you go to church. You know what I mean? Like that was just the pattern of life, and there was no real like connection or relationship. Like I remembering hearing from God when I was 9, but at the time I didn't know what that was, so it's just having that relationship now and knowing like I don't have to be like the fact that you just been saying I've been doing Bedside Baptist for a minute. Like that's just been where I'm at. When God tells me to go to the house, I go. But there's nothing wrong with you doing it at home because he's there. He's wherever we are. We are the church. The church is not the 4 walls. We are the church. So we can sit here right here on Zoom and have church. We can have worship. We can speak a word. We all are prophetic. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no reason why you can't just get together with your people and just have church. It's a social club.
Right.
People have to go to get refreshed. Like we had our a big sister, little sister Zoom yesterday, and that refreshed my spirit because I miss my girls. Like we haven't met in 2 months. You know what I mean? And our prom party was supposed to be yesterday, so I was extra like sad. We've been doing it for 10 years. You know what I mean? It was like, no, we're not doing our prom party today. Like the thing popped up on my computer, and I was like, oh my God, like, I was really sad. And so, but it's still like, okay, but we still got to get together and just. We didn't have no lesson. We literally just sat there and talked and laughed for like an hour and a half, and that was so refreshing, but we don't have to be in the church house for those things to happen. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
folks got to get that in their brains.
Yeah. And I think it's a matter of, since we, beautiful points, but since we're talking about just in terms of a faith journey and experience, I think you're right, Vaughn. Most people start off with their faith not being their own. So it's something that, your grandma's instilling in you or your parents are instilling in you. And I think all of us go through just even a life phase in terms of like, when you're a teenager, you're figuring life out. And a part of that is your spirituality. And I think that just like in regular life, spiritual life has a cycle. So no matter where you come, to meet Jesus or at what point in your life, you got to go through that cycle where, you kind of just doing routine things. And then you got to go through like, oh, this is really real, or like, this is our thing together that we have. And I think that people are being challenged, I would say. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think that, you're being challenged to test what's really in your heart about this. And I know just you brought up, people who might not necessarily believe, but even for believers, you know what I mean? I know people who are like really struggling in their theology right now about, faith around sickness. And like we said, the blood of Jesus, and what does that mean? Like, so if you get corona, does that mean you're not faithful in your faith, or what does that mean? And I think it's a matter of Jesus goes with you throughout anything you're going to face in your life, even if it's death. Like, because the promise of it is, that death doesn't have the final say. So no matter whether you live through having a sickness or having a disease, if you lose that loved one and they go off to a better place, Jesus is still Lord. And either right. I remember we were talking about earlier this week about the Evans family, and when their mother passed away of cancer, and how devastating that was for them. But I loved Jonathan's eulogy, where he was like, Jesus promised me that my mother was going to be healed of cancer, period. And he was like, and I wanted to believe it was going to be on this side. And that's we were praying for and hoping for. And everyone was praying on this side. But he was like, whether she's healed on this side or she's healed on the other side, she's still healed. Mm-hmm. And so I think that people got to open their theology. Like, it's really trying times,
That's my bestie's anniversaries in a week and a half.
Oh,
and
right.
You know how I get. I be like, don't talk to me. Leave me alone. I'm gonna be in the bed. I'm gonna be in my room. My door closed. Don't nobody call me. You know what I mean? But I remember when God told me, like, no, I healed her, but she's with me. Mm-hmm. And that's where not the okayness, because it ain't okay.
Okay. Right.
But it's still like, I know that she's with him, and so that gives me peace. Like, knowing that when our loved ones do go, it's still like the healing does not always have to be here. And that's where people get the whole thing messed up. Mm-hmm. Whoever has died of coronavirus, it's not that they weren't faithful. It's not that they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. It's not that they didn't know God enough, or they didn't pray enough, or they didn't worship enough, they didn't do anything enough. We all were in her room laying hands, praying, worshiping, doing the whole thing, and she still died. And we know where she is, and that gives us peace. So I think people have to get that under wraps and that in their brains to know, like, okay, God is sovereign.
Yep.
So whatever happens, death is not bad. Death is not horrible. However it happens, death is still healing. Your body is now restored. Whoever has died of coronavirus, their bodies are now restored, and they're with the Lord. People who have been healed from it and are still here, their bodies are still restored, and they can now be wise in their, and moving forward with this virus and helping others. And I know 2 people who had it. One's in the hospital. Actually, I know more than that, but like actual
mm-hmm.
friends. And one just got out of the hospital. One's still in the hospital. 2 people from my church went to New York, mm-hmm. came back with it. So they're in the hospital. So it's just like and I know those 2. They love the Lord.
Right.
They love Jesus.
Right.
Like, they are like, if I want somebody to pray for me, I will, go
mm-hmm.
to one of them for that. So mm-hmm. there's no doubt in my mind that they're not faithful to the Lord, but they have it. And it's not a slap in the face or a slap to their relationship with God. Mm-hmm. They just got the virus because they went to New York, So people have to not put God in this box and not put him into this thing of, well, if he's God, and that's us wanting to prove to non-believers too. I feel like
I want to say
that's us wanting to prove to non-believers what our God can do.
Right.
And God's like, I don't need you to prove nothing for me. Mm-hmm. I don't need you to do nothing for me. I don't need you to put me on the I can do this. I can do it. Yeah, I can. And I don't need people can say whatever. Because people have said that. Like, well, why ain't y'all believers going to lay hands on people? Because it's not wise. It's not wise for me to go lay hands on nobody right now. Right. And that's people get that whole thing mixed up. But you're trying to prove to people who don't believe in God, well, this is what my God can do. And God's like, I don't need you to do that.
Right. And
do what I tell you to do.
Who he is. He doesn't need us humans who he created to prove who he is.
Exactly.
But on that, the whole like, I seen it where people kind of make it seem like you faithless if you wasn't in church, or we gonna still have church. What you doing? We gonna get back and do it. Like, look, listen. Like, if I choose to stay home because this is where I'm at, or this is what I believe for my house and my family or myself, then respect that. Don't hoorah on me because I ain't in the church sitting next to you and hugging you, or not cool with that. Like, again, that's that whole like, social club, or making it feel like, like, I think people need to use wisdom when deciding to repost something or make it seem like I'm not holy as you, or as faithful as you, or have as much faith as you, because I choose to stay home rather than go into the four walls.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's like sometimes church can feel like we've talked about this, but I equate it to like gang culture. You know what I mean? It's like people really feel like they got to ride for Jesus. Like we have to put in work. Like I'm putting in more work than you, and there's a lot of guilt and shame in church culture that comes with that I feel like is the complete opposite of what Jesus stood for. I mean, there are even times in the Bible, where the disciples would go at it about who had more faith or who was healing or doing more, and Jesus would be like, that's nobody's business. You know what I mean? Like, our relationship is our relationship. Even in times when, Jesus would be like, if I wanted to heal somebody or do something, like he was only doing what he saw the Father do or what he had instruction to do. So like, to your point, Vaughn, for the people who feel like we should just be out here doing all this stuff, I'm like, if God didn't tell you to do that, you're going to be looking really foolish. Really foolish, right? You're going to get corona, right? Because you have to operate in God's will. Like you said, God's sovereignty. You took the word straight out of my mouth, that if he's asking you to do something, then he's made provision for you to do it. And if you're doing anything outside of that, then, you setting yourself up.
Like,
right.
Lift it.
You setting yourself up for shit. Right. And even still, it's like, one of my favorite stories, in the Bible, I was actually reading something about it this morning, but when Mary and Martha, when Lazarus died, I'm like, everybody want to be like, I can't believe sickness and death. Like, I ride with Jesus, so I'm not. I'm like, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were super close to Jesus. Yep. And Lazarus fully died. And not only did he die, they sent word like, hey, Jesus, Lazarus is about to die. Can you come? And he was like,
I'll be there.
Yeah, he was like, nah, I'll be there in like a couple of days. And, right. Well, I was like, there's no rush. I'll get there. And he waited, and Lazarus died, and Martha met him on the road and was like, I mean, I'm happy you're here, but if you had been here, I know my brother wouldn't be dead. And she said, even now, if you want to raise him, you can. And so he was like, oh, okay. And he cried with them, like, was sad with them, felt their emotions and their feelings. I think a lot of people think that just because people are passing away and people's family members, like, Jesus definitely feels our feelings and our emotions and has compassion on us. And even still, he knew he was going there to raise Lazarus from the dead, and raised him from the dead. And that's like one of the last miracles he did right before, this section that we're in now of Palm Sunday and getting ready for the resurrection and all of those things. So I don't know. I don't think lack of faith, or I don't know. It all goes together, and you have to trust that God is sovereign and God has your back, no matter where you find yourself in this phase, whether you're dealing with corona, whether you're exercising wisdom, because the point is coronavirus can spread and be asymptomatic for a person. They can have it and spread it. You don't know how it's going to operate in one person's body versus the other. So it just seems wise, right, that you do what you can, right? So everyone be safe and stay safe. And to, the point that we've been saying about leadership, you want to trust your leader, and you want to trust that your leader is hearing from God. And you want to trust that they're stewarding everyone correctly and rightly in a way that they got to stand before God and answer for it at the end of the day. And, I'm happy to see that churches are continuing to thrive and do well in the season, that people are continuing to give as they feel led, which we should also talk about, because that's a condition of the heart. I know a lot of people are out here like, oh, y'all just out here still trying to get money for the church with these tithes and offerings. And we like, that's not really how this works. I watched T.I. tell a hilarious story about tithe and offering. He's not a fan. But it's got to be in his heart. It's not in his heart. Go ahead, Vaughn.
It's on his heart, and the church still has to run.
True.
And I know churches still are trying to pay their employees, you know, and I think people feel like the money, I think it's easier for us because we've all been at Hope's House at one point, right? Mm-hmm. And we all know what our pastors do with our money. We know how transparent they are with the money. We know how they're not buying money. They're not buying, you know, extravagant things. They both have had 6-figure jobs. So they're not here for our tithes and offerings. They've gone without, you know, a salary from the church. And so we know, like, I know that tithing into that place is good ground. And I know they take care of their employees and they're trying to pay insurance still and, you know, keep their stuff. But for people who have this mentality of, I don't want to say anybody's name, but of the mega pastors, you know, people were like, so-and-so created a Cash App just for tithes and offering. And it's like, did your church really need that? And I don't know. I don't know their expenses. I don't know their mortgage. I don't know their rent. I don't know their light bill. I don't know whatever they're trying to do. I know with us, we're one of the only churches. We support a mission, and we're one of the only ones who have not dropped out on them. We're still doing the dinner hosting. You know what I mean? So that money has to come from somewhere, especially if we're the only one that's trying to support them and help them in this time. You know, so it's like, I'm going to still tithe. We still need lights for these online services. Right. You can't have an online service in the dark, y'all. Like, what? Like, that's
when you get kicked out of your building. Right.
Look, those take cameras. And I think Pastor Michael Todd talked about it, like, when he first took over the church that he's at, and he did that leap of faith and spent $80,000 on camera equipment, and people left the church. It was like, oh, heck, no. But he was like, but look at it now. You know, you have to
tune in, because I tune into him all the time. Monday morning, that's my pastor Monday morning, okay?
Right.
So, but I need your lighting to be good so I can see you.
All right.
I hate watching the service, and I'm like,
huh? What'd you say?
But they understand because you know, he is younger, and you know, Lord's using him how he does, but they have donated to other churches like big amounts so that they can be up and running for their congregation too,
right?
So that their congregation can and see them and do this, you know, the live and all. And so I definitely see how that has affected a lot of churches, and has, if they weren't already doing lives and stuff, they got to get on it, get on top of it now. The Cash App is, I mean, I don't know.
Whoa.
I don't have tithes and offering online. It's the same thing.
Because my thing is, we already do that. Like, I'm an online tither. Like, I'm an online giver. I don't write the envelope out. I don't have a checkbook. I have a business checkbook, and I don't even use that. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an online tither anyway. But I think people were angry at this one particular pastor because he created one just for this.
For Corona?
Like, it was like, well, we still gonna tithe. I guess it was just like the manner of how he did it. Okay. You know what I mean? Because we already have our online stuff set up, because that's what we do anyway, because our church is a very, you know, Gen X millennial church. So most of us aren't carrying around a checkbook. You know what I mean? I haven't had a checkbook in years. So most of us are online tithers.
So it may have been an older church. I heard about it, but I didn't I didn't read into it or anything to see what actually happened there. But there are some churches that are very, very large, that we don't see the back work. Like say for instance, the Potter House, the main one, huge. Yeah. But what people don't know, and it is never broadcasted, and it's funny, I was like, wow, people do not know this, but I went to a conference there, and the amount of ministries and organizations that they give to, they over there, they in Somalia, they all over, you know, so you sow $1 into that place. They gonna pray on it and they gonna multiply like the fishes, okay, and the loaves, okay. But the truth is, like, they really put it into good grounds. They even use, like, I believe right now they're using like their kitchen to prepare meals for doctors and stuff. You know what I mean? And yes, you hear about those things, but there's things in the back like that are still happening, like with Hope's House, they're still trying to be faithful to the other ministries and the other organizations that need to run. And so those tithes, they need them not because they're like, all right, we got 2 people on the payroll. That's not why, the only reason, but it's like, yo, we're still sowing into these.
You still have boom, 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 boom,
now. They
right,
need
support. And I think because we've all been in ministry and we've all been in leadership, so we understand that part. You know what I mean?
Good ground, though.
Good ground. Yeah, we've been in places that are good ground, and we're attached to other ministries and other churches that are also good ground. You know what I mean? So we have the privilege of being surrounded by a group of churches in LA and around, here, that are good ground to be sown in. But people who have not had that experience, they just see it as, y'all just trying to get money to pay for your, whatever. And it's like, no, like, we still have this ministry, that ministry, we sow into this place over here, and we do this and we do that. And it's like, where that gonna come from? Yo, like, besides the lights being on, like, that still gotta happen too. But we still want to keep our commitment. Like, when we got the email from the mission, they were like, yeah, everyone's pretty much dropped out. And it's like, I get it, we can't go there to dinner host, but you can still drop off some pizzas for the baby. You know what I mean? Like, because it's a shelter for families. So it's like, people are just like, hey, I don't know where my tithes and orphans coming from, so we ain't coming back no more.
Right.
Like, dang, that kind of sucks. So we're like, okay, we're trying to get a game plan. Like, yo, how we going? What can we do to help them, keep afloat and to feed the people? So,
and being part of, the Potter's House family. So, thank you, Jeff, for bringing it up. I was like, shout out to Transformation Nation. Shout out to Potter's House. Shout out to Hope's House. Shout out to all our churches.
Shout out to Vessels.
Shout out to Vessels. Shout out to all the amazing ministries that are online, and even the ones that are offline. I think, again, beautiful points that you all have made is that, again, there are, just like the pastors are responsible for, a flock of people, and responsible for the congregation's money, they're responsible for the philanthropy and the souls that they choose to be responsible for outside of the house. So, what's cool at One LA is, like, my pastor say, we're doubling down on our generosity. Like, we're not giving because, a crisis or a famine or a plague or whatever you want to call it has hit. This is the time where you really need to press into the idea of giving and the economy of God, as they call it, which is, when things are sort of dwindling, you push in more because you're not believing in the system that's around you. You're believing in a God who has all the resources, who can bring, money and things from all sorts of places, so that, the people who are dependent, like you said, on the generosity, the philanthropy work of these ministries can continue. Because while we're all living comfortably, some people's kids only get fed at school. So, they're missing meals, or like you said, Vaughn, with all your kids in rural right now, there are people's lives who are dependent on some of these ministries. And that's where a lot of the tithes and offerings go to, not necessarily just like, oh, we just about to get this money. And if there are people that are doing that, keep in mind, they have to answer to God for that at the end of the day.
They have to answer to God for that. We can't control what they do with it. At the end of the day, we cannot control what those other pastors and leaders do with the money. We have to trust that, they're going to do it right, but they have to answer to God at the end of the day. We can't.
Is the scariest one to answer to. Like, only God can judge me. I'm like, that just scared the mess out of you, okay? Like, you're right. Only God can, like, justfully judge you. But
that should scare you. That meme with the old boy from Jersey. What's the Jersey Shore in his life? He's like,
I mean, when you read passages in Isaiah, like, God holds the earth in the palm of his hands. Like we know how big the earth feels for us. But if there's a being that can hold earth and the universe and the galaxies in the palm of his hand, that's a big person. The waters and the sea, it's a big being. If the inhabitants of the earth look like grasshoppers to him, that's a big being. That's what you want to answer to because you were so focused on trying to get the loot right now.
Let me tell you one thing. I'm gonna bring that down to a real level right here where people
go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna short Suge Knight?
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like, heck no.
Heck no. I got scared. I was like,
you gonna short Suge Knight? And that's Suge Knight is tiny.
Suge Knight is the Candyman of the hood, straight up. People be like, Suge Knight, where? Like,
listen,
Mufasa.
And I was both times I was like, he said hi, and I was like,
nope. Hello, Marion, and keep it pushing. You don't mess with Suge.
He just got shot, so he had the cane. I said, oh God.
Oh my
it's way too real. But yeah, we ain't got short Suge.
Come on.
Short Suge.
Oh, I don't want to answer to Suge.
No.
You know? If this is what I said I got, then
he'll hang you out a window. He'll hang you out a window. Now, granted, the Lord is more merciful and more kind than Suge Knight. However, he does have a side where he's like, okay, you keep playing with me. There is
my people. Listen. That's the thing. Like, the thing is, that's not yours. So if you're doing wrong by the tithes and offering, what we're talking about, you're doing wrong by it so you can roll around in whatever you want or do whatever you want.
Right.
And because there is the part like where we, Levitical priests, they were taken care of by some of these offerings, and that is their lot in life that God has designed for them,
right.
in the Bible. So I'm not saying like, a pastor should never take any offering that is given to them. No, I'm not saying that. But if you're doing wrong, you're going to have to answer to it. Because that stuff was brought into the house for the entire house, right? For God's work, And so it's just like if you're doing a 50% to you probably going to be in some trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I had one of my supporters, I'm a missionary. If y'all don't know, I'm a missionary.
Yes, you are.
And one of my mission supporters sent me $150, my Cash App,
nice.
Him and his wife. And then the next day I got another notification. I thought it just didn't go through, like the transfer. And so I transferred it. I checked my account and $300 had gone into my account from Cash App.
Hello.
And I was like, and he said something about doubling the portion or something. He sent me a message on Instagram and he was like, yeah, my wife sent something. She said she wanted to double the portion because it was like me and like a couple of us that they gave to. And so I hit him. I was like, hey, I got $300 from Cash App, not $150. He's like, oh yeah, my wife wanted to double it, whatever. And I was like, wow. Okay, because they support me in my missions, because missionaries, we get paid. We don't get paid. Like we have supporters, but not that I don't need it, but I'm like, my babies need it in Africa because they got to eat, like they cannot go to like we were saying, they can't go to the orphanage to get their food right now. And that can feed them, I don't know, $15 divided by 300 or whatever, 300 divided by 15. Yeah, that's it. However many families that is, you know what I mean? So it's just a blessing that there are people right now who are being extra giving and are being extra, whatever. And he knows that like, my work is shut down. So he's like, yeah, my wife and I wanted to bless you. So here you go. And she sent a scripture and all this other stuff. And I was like,
blessing my heart.
Yeah. Which again speaks to the sovereignty of God, and that like God is big enough to put it on somebody's heart to answer your prayers, for the things that you need, but also for those kids in Africa whose parents, if we ain't never experienced, a lockdown, like you were saying in Africa, they're like, social distancing. They're like, what is that? Listen,
we don't go outside, we don't eat.
They be on you, right? They're used to a certain level of hustling and surviving. And so, whatever prayers they're praying, you know what I mean? Whatever is on their heart, God is working on people's hearts to get that to them, which is mad cool. So I think that, I don't know, I thought that was important for us to bring up. I hope we did a beautiful job in expressing that so people understand it, because I know that money, Jesus even said this, where your treasure is, your heart will also be. And so there's always a divide between us as creatures having to deal with our hearts being with God, and how does that play into our money. And so, us giving of our money is saying, God, we trust you with everything in our lives, particularly this thing, right, that is not bigger than you, and whatever you want to do with that, we're cool with it, and giving it out to people, which I think is cool. So I want to clarify. So I think our last point, we got to talk about the faith and science divide. Like, why is that even?
I was about to go. I was like, let's talk about what you talked about earlier with the science.
Go ahead.
I'm a science nerd. Science was my favorite subject in school, which was odd because math was not. So it was really weird. And those two kind of go together. Like science and English. Like, this is how I knew I was weird, y'all. Science and English are my favorite subjects.
You're cool. Yeah,
okay.
Makes sense.
She's super cool. She's super cool.
She's super cool. It makes sense to me.
Random. So I've always been into science and learning about like the galaxies and learning about just chemistry. I almost killed myself the other day mixing cleaners, but it's fine. I've always been a real big science nerd, but it never altered my my knowledge and my faith in God. Even when I didn't have a relationship with the Lord when I was younger, it never altered what I thought of him. Learning, like we were talking about the other day, learning about evolution made me confused for a minute. So I was like, but I remember being a kid and being like, this ain't it.
That's not it.
That's not what. And I remember being like, I was like, evolution, if monkeys, we came from monkeys, and how they still here? Like, I remember being that kid. You know what I mean? Like, no. But so even though I love science and I love learning about science and I love chemistry, I love biology, I don't know. It never altered my faith in God. So I remember talking to someone one day and science came up. And she was like, science is the devil. And I was like, no, it's not. Science is how my blood pressure pills are made.
Come on.
Science, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean? Science is how your bathroom cleaner is made. Science is not the devil. It is not. It's one thing if you're like sitting there and you are reading your horoscope or you're living your life by this thing. I live my life by the Bible, by what the word of the Lord says. But I know that he created science to make this world run. He created science to, you know what I'm saying? Like, to make sure we are here on earth. People are getting healed from the coronavirus because of science, because of the wisdom that he has given people to create medications and to create ventilators and to create different things that can heal people. Like, our doctors and our nurses have to learn science in order to help heal us. So when people are like, science is the devil, no, science is what keeps my heart and my kidneys situated with the medications I take every day. Because the Lord can heal me, he can touch my body, and my heart and my kidneys can be healed right now in this instance. But the wisdom is that I take my medication every day, because when I don't, I'm in the emergency room. And I ain't trying to be in the ER right now with the corona, okay? You know what I mean? So
you'll be on the Navy ship out by San Pedro.
That's like that lady that was bleeding in the Bible. She bled for 12 years. She saw all the doctors. You feel me? And God ended up healing her, right? The healing came through God. Right. But she saw everybody. You know what I mean? So she still was seeking out and using wisdom, because you can't be bleeding everywhere all your life without some help. Right.
And like you're saying, Vaughn, even the vaccine is going to come from science. There are people in laboratories studying things and looking at things. And I think, this whole, first of all, the devil is the devil. Like, hey, science ain't the devil. The devil is the devil. And in terms of, science is a tool and a skill and a gift like everything else. And it's really not about what the tool or the skill or the gift is. It's about the person that's utilizing that thing. So if you're utilizing that thing for wrong and evil purposes and craziness, then I would say that that's demonic or of a devilish influence. But if you're using it for good, what are we going to say? The person who finally comes up with the corona vaccine using science, that's demonic? Come on. Come on now. Like, if God is truly sovereign and God can do anything, he can use anybody, why not science? And I think that, to the point that we were talking about earlier this week, Vaughn, like, a lot of things about our faith are explained through science. Granted, there are some things that science can't explain. right? We've all heard stories of crazy miraculous things happen, or people who have died and come back. Like there's a limit to where there's a ceiling for science, right?
There's a ceiling for science.
Yeah, there's a ceiling for science, but that doesn't mean that it's bad, and that doesn't mean that God is still not God. Those things can exist at the same time in the same place and not be some crazy form of like you either on one side or the other. Like there's a middle ground, people. There's a middle ground.
Right. Like take Caleb for instance, right? Our pastors, Shona and Alex's son, Caleb. He got diagnosed with bone cancer, right? He had all the rounds of chemo. They told him his leg was going to be amputated. His leg is still here. Praise the Lord. Amen. They went into his lungs. We prayed, we fasted, we just were on our faces, right? For weeks and weeks and weeks. They went into his lungs to take out the polyps or whatever it was called in his lungs. They went in there and they were gone.
Come on.
And the doctors were like,
we've never seen this before.
Wait a minute. After, mind you, Caleb's 9, and his friend who's 9 had a dream that God came in and cleaned his lungs up. And we have a voicemail of his friend telling his dream about God coming in and cleaning out the stuff out of his lungs. And then he went to the doctor and they were gone. Science couldn't explain that. Now, science has been keeping Caleb with the chemo and getting the radiation and getting all the things, getting his bones, getting the cancer off of his bones. But science can't explain why they went into his lungs and they were gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was God. That was nothing but God and nothing but our prayers that, we had. Everybody all over the thing on earth was praying for Caleb, okay? You know what I'm saying? So that is an instance where it's like, yeah, science was carrying him through his treatment, but at the end of the day, they were like, no, let's go check again. And they were like, and then he was like, I got coming for nothing.
Aww.
But you know what I mean? It's like, wait, no, they're gone. There's nothing in here.
Right.
That's the Lord.
Right. And even if you believe in science and like, listen, God gave all of us free will and knows all of us intimately, and everybody has the ability to believe what they want to believe. But I think that everybody, at some point, even if you fully believe in science, there will be things that you will face in life that are beyond science, right? Like coronavirus is one of those things right now. So we need both. We need faith. We need hope, we need love, we need community, we need support, and we need science. These things are not mutually exclusive to one another. So, Jess, you got anything you want to add?
No.
Oh, okay.
These lips is popping.
We didn't even plan this. It was just we all in one spirit, huh?
This is the thing when you know it, you all turn on your camera, you're like, ooh, hold on. So I was
a long lip.
It's very nice to come in because I was like, oh, is my lip too much? I know this is so off subject. Sorry, y'all. But
that's fine. I felt crusty and I had to look. I was like, I feel crusty. I need to look like something.
Sometimes you got.
What is your lip from? What color? I mean, what's it by?
This is Fenty Candy Venom.
Come on, Fenty.
Yes. It's very nice. It looks nice.
Thank you. What's yours?
Jess.
It's by NYX. NYX?
Come on, NYX.
NYX. It's, I don't even know what color. All along, and it's been faithful to me. So listen, it's like one of those where I'll be like,
make it.
So yeah.
And mine's a little black radiance, you know what I mean? A little Carmex, little mixture going on here.
It's so nice. It looks so pretty and nude, but like I see the shimmer. I see it looks like a pinkish.
I have a Lancome one that's like that. Well, I stole it from my mom, and I don't know what the thing is gone.
This is rubbed off.
Yeah, and I can't. No. Like I'm like it's like the one I'm like trying to.
You take it to.
I can't take it nowhere right now.
Yep, that's why I just like.
I was online trying to like.
Compare. If you take it in, in the summer, if you take it in, they should be able to color match it. I mean, if they still have it, but
even if the color's different or something. That happened to my friend when she was doing her makeup class. She had given us all like this bomb like nude color, and then we're all on the website and they're like, it's gone, but the name was changed, so it was still there, but it just had a new name. So we were like, Ooh,
Yeah.
girl,
I'm
I
doing
need it.
y'all Fenty Black Radiance. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, you know,
I decided to tell y'all, like, look, these lips is everything.
you know, if anybody want to sponsor somebody, you know what I'm saying? I'll let you girls be here.
Yeah, I do miss getting dressed though. Because for me, this is I'm in week 4 of my quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like,
Yeah. I'm like, when did mine start?
Getting
I
old.
think mine started March 12th was the last day I worked.
That's right. That sounds about
My
right.
cousin's birthday. That's
Shoot,
why I
so
remember.
you deep in 4. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm about probably 4 or 5 weeks in because we did start a little bit
So-
before it was sort of like a mandatory, you know, shelter in
Yeah.
place, stay at home order. So
Yeah.
I feel it. I feel it.
Second, our job said, hey, you're going to be working from home. Do you have to be here at the office? Can you work from home? I was like, okay. They told me on a Thursday. I was like, y'all still want me to come here Friday? Get out of here. I stayed so late. I think I stayed like 3 or 4 hours afterwards just to get all my stuff together. So I didn't have to come in on Friday. If we're going to start, let's start. But
We're
I
gonna
ended up
start this thing. We're gonna start this thing.
going to start right now, baby.
So as we close out, thank y'all for spending the time with us. But I also want to do something that was on my heart today. So whether you are, you don't believe in God at all, you never ever trusted in him, you don't know about this whole Jesus thing, but after listening to us talk, you're like, I could give it a try. If you're a believer who is just struggling in your faith right now, like it's a lot going on. And let me encourage, you know, anybody as strong as you are in your faith, you are human. You know, it's okay if you're feeling afraid or, you know, you were seeing light at the end of the tunnel and now that tunnel's getting a little bit longer than you expected. And as we're all, you know, sort of cycling through what's going on, feeling our emotions, feeling the feels, as you've heard us, you know, talk about repeatedly on here, our faith is what keeps us grounded, keeps us anchored through the Rona and any other time in life, honestly. So if you would, I would like to lead us all. Listen, if you've never done this before, no worries, we got you. If you've done it before and you got to put some things back together, get your life together, no worries, we've all been here. So I have the sinner's prayer here. I got it from Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City, because every time I listen to the album, I rededicate my life. So if you ever want to bump that in your tape deck, you know what I mean, and your CD player, and your streams, you know what I mean? However you get it in, get it in. So we're just going to pray this together. All right. So, Lord God, I come to you a sinner, and I humbly repent for my sins. I believe that Jesus is Lord. I believe that you raised him from the dead. I will ask that Jesus come to my life and be my Lord and Savior. I receive Jesus to take control of my life and that I may live for him from this day forth. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for saving me with your precious blood. In Jesus' name, amen. And that's it. If you prayed that prayer, run it back, repeat it with us, however you do it. The Lord is in your life, man, and let him lead you, let him guide you. And take this time to have an experience with him. This is the time to get your experience in with, you know, no pastor, no social club, church, no nothing. This is a chance for you to really get to know him by yourself and for yourself. Crack that Bible open, listen to some of these artists we done named, you know what I mean? Get it in for yourself. So, ladies, anything you want to add?
If you want prayer, DM us. Feel free.
Also,
if you did say that prayer, let us know. Like, let us know, because we would love to, like, we are more than happy to send you, like, some helpful stuff that helped me, helped us grind at the beginning or just get close to God. So let us know. And like Vaughn said, we would definitely keep you in prayer. And just during this time while we're in quarantine and it's a little different, we can offer you some things to help you on this road.
Exactly. And your support you in your journey. Remember, it is a journey. Wherever you're starting with, whatever you've done, whatever you're going through, the Lord's with you. So we just want to encourage you, and please hit us up. So I think that's it, y'all. You know, it's your homegirls. You know how we do. And we'll catch you on the next one. This has been Don't Let Your Faith Get You Killed. Hey. Hope you enjoy it. Run it back. Share it with some people. You know what I mean? So
peace out, guys.
Love y'all.
We'd love to hear from our homies, so feel free to email us at intermissionhg, as in homegirls, that's intermissionhg@gmail.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at intermissionhg. Until next time, this has been A Break with Your Homegirls.